We'll call the meeting of the Public Safety Committee for the City of Hudson to order on Thursday, September 17th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Hall?
Yes.
Alderperson Morset?
Yes.
Alderperson Weber?
Yes.
All right, any discussion, possible action on the minutes from the last meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion in regards? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you. If it so pleases the committee, I would like to start with number 4 and then number 2, and we'll move on from there. So, number 4 is discussion and possible action to conduct the 7th Annual Willow River Superfund Walk and Run on Saturday, October 3rd, 2015 at 9:30 a.m. beginning and ending at Willow River Elementary School. Roger, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Roger Peranto. I live at 608 Locust Street, and I'm a volunteer for Willow River School, and we would like to hold our annual walk run. It's pretty much the same as it's been every year. Is there questions? We have talked to the school liaison, Officer Wildman, I believe, is going to be our assistant for Second Street Crossing. So we haven't had any issues. And it's pretty much like, runs like clockwork at this point. So, questions?
Marty.
There hasn't been any issues with it at all. No
Okay.
complaints.
We're not closing any streets or,
No, the only thing he does is he stops traffic so that the group can get across Second Street, and then when they come back, he does the same thing. So it's a safety concern more than anything.
Entertain a
move to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
We'll recommend approval to council. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Heading down to number 6, discussion possible action to conduct the Hudson Hot Air Fair February 5th through the 7th, 2016. Ruth, if you'd state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Ruth Peterson, 735 11th Street South. And I'm here to represent the Hot Air Fair and the 5K run for 2016. We do have a theme this year. It's Hudson Hot Air Fair, Paint the Sky 2016. Between the balloons and the artsy, craftsy stuff that we have in town, we're hopefully will have a very fun year. Again, of course, for our 26th year, 27th. I don't know, I give up. I've been doing it too many years. I have worked with the fire department and the police department and with the city and public works, and if anybody ever does have questions, you can contact me, and if I need anything, will contact you if I need extra things somewhere.
Marty, anybody have any other issues?
No,
It's been a great...
this has actually worked out pretty good. Their 5K run hasn't been an issue. We haven't had any complaints. They always coordinate with the our explorers to help them out with security and traffic direction and stuff, and it's worked out really well. So we haven't had any issues with it.
You guys have worked great magic with all that, and during the cold weather, it's tough, and you guys have done a great job for the past 27 years, so
Thank you.
I think, at least on behalf of the city, thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you, and we're always looking for volunteers. We always have things for that day or even before. You know, there's a lot of work
Typically, the
involved.
new people.
Yeah, the new people, yes. I'm sure Katie can find you something to do. I thank you very much, and I really do appreciate working with the city and everybody involved, and the Explorers have been a great work group to work with.
So I'll move for approval then. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We'll recommend approval, and you'll do all the paperwork, permits, all that stuff.
Correct,
Mark.
we will.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, back to the agenda then. Number 3, discussion, possible action regarding the fence at 903 Vine Street. And Marty, I believe this is a comeback issue.
Yeah, Alderperson Weber had asked that we bring this back. It originated from and for some reason my page doesn't want to come up, from a letter that, or an email that John Ullman had sent to David Gray regarding the safety issues of this fence at the intersection of 9th and Vine, specifically 903, and whether or not the fence should be looked at as a safety issue, since his daughter's handlebars hit the fence, got caught, and the daughter fell over. The fence, as you can see from the photos, is right up against the sidewalk. However, according to David Gray in our code, it's within, he's got a permit, it's all legal. There's no reason that we have to take it down. This is the first incident that I've heard of this type of situation. But I know
Mine
that
too, as
people-
long as I've been here, I've never heard of an issue.
No, I've never, this is the first time other than that email I got, so.
And there's also another house further west on down Vine that has the same situation.
Right, there is. Well, my concern is, well, it really stems out of the surveying that's going on south of, or west of 9th Street, where there are a lot of things that are on city property. You know, that the city property doesn't stop at the edge of the sidewalk, it extends 12 to 18 inches past that. You know, and I don't know what the boundaries are up there, but I'm wondering why we would permit a fence to be placed on city property. And this is an assumption, is that that fence is on city property and should never have been there.
I don't know if,
I don't know the rules for that, but permitting fences on city property is not a good idea.
no, right, did you pose that question to David Gray?
I did not.
So I don't know if there was an easement, you don't know if there's an easement or any
Correct.
agreement in the past.
Right.
According to, I believe David's response to this, I think he said
In
something about
compliance.
the fence is constructed with the permit and is compliance with our fence ordinance.
Right.
So, but the only thing is I don't know if he checked to see if it was put on the right-of-way portion of that property or not, because he would need a variance for that. So I can ask David if he wants to check it to see if that's the case or not.
I think we need to, and the other issue that, you know, assuming we move forward with the project of Vine Street, my guess is this issue will come up and it will be pushed back and off of the sidewalk as it is now for both those properties.
Right. Yeah, I think it's good to find out what the proper procedures are for doing this. And it is a really tight sequence, and they also have plantings on the other side of the sidewalk. So it gets really, all you have is sidewalk. And your handlebars, you know, bike requires 3 feet of space.
No.
And if you got 2 people, it's just not adequate.
But I am not, you know, there is some personal responsibility here about maintaining control of a bike. Yes, she's a kid, I get all that, but I'm not gonna go out and tell people to start ripping down fences that have been there for a long time because of one incident over how many years?
Well, I think if we asked, we'd find there are a lot more incidents than that.
On this particular,
Well, on Vine Street in general, on the south side of the street, the fences, the bricks even actually lean in, and we rode up that one night, and that was really, really scary, because it was just, you know, it just closes in on you, and you have good lights, so it's so we need to make sure that everything there is to the right code, and we're using the right judgment about what goes there.
okay? Did you have,
Marion's got a
well,
comment.
we're discussing first and then
Oh,
I'll let
okay.
Marion, did you have anything?
No, I'm wondering whether we should open that. I think we need to get more information before we do anything.
I
but-
agree.
But I think that, okay, so on the south side of Vine, you've got a lot of retaining walls also. Are those a problem as well?
Yeah, they are. Well, actually, because most of them are
Because there's-
failing to some degree, they're all
Yeah.
starting to lean into the sidewalk.
So then people.
Not
would
all of
have
them, but quite a bit of it is leaning into the sidewalk. And then there's growth on them, and that comes out in the sidewalk. It's really, the street, you know, those sidewalks are not well maintained for pedestrians, let alone bicyclists.
You know, and in not getting too far ahead, but it is also the inspectors, our city job to make sure those sidewalks are maintained properly. And it's also the responsibility of the homeowner to make sure that sidewalk is passable,
Which
safe.
inspector who has that responsibility?
Would it be compliance or is it
Well, for maintaining it, for keeping it clear, it will be our job, Jason's job. He would do that, especially in the wintertime. We issued some citations for not clearing that sidewalk. But for the fence portion of it and leaning in, I think that would be more David Gray's, the building inspector's responsibility.
So I'm thinking maybe the two of them need to work, because you can look on this one picture and you can see branches sticking in on the sidewalk already, you know? And I can see that the curb by Public Works has been shaved down on the one picture. I mean, so they have been addressing the issue as far as safety, but we need to go a little further as far as legality.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point that a lot of this is going to have to be addressed as we rebuild Vine Street. And we can perhaps get it straightened out, but we need to know what get the issue of what's our policy and make sure that that's clear.
So maybe we can get an email and an investigation with David and maybe Jason, and they can go out and look, either come back to the next meeting or shoot us all an email
Okay.
on what they discover as far as right-of-way and pertaining to any of the structures that are abutting up to the sidewalks that may potentially cause safety issues for bikers, pedestrians, whatnot.
Okay. I'll work on that for the next meeting.
Marion, briefly.
Marion Weber, 406 Grandview Drive. These people approached me initially because we were doing a bicycle event in the park, Riverfront Park, and the girl had a broken arm. And Jim and I go up and down that road quite frequently on our bikes or walking, and we go on our bikes on that street because the road is absolutely not safe. And this Vine Street improvement is a perfect chance to fix this. We were walking down the street a week ago, and Jim got poked in the eye with a branch, and if it had been a little bit off, it would have put his eye out. And then we noticed that all these sidewalks, well, the fences on the sidewalks and the plantings along the sidewalk are 18 inches within what looks like an easement. And in talking about improving Wisconsin Street and what you can and cannot do with it, I look at that and I say, there's 18 inches that could be built into that sidewalk and make a nice path so families could safely bike and walk down that sidewalk. And probably, I mean, I can't figure out why it would be an ideal for a fence to be right on a sidewalk. It seems like that in itself is a hazard, even if it's legal, because of the use of the sidewalk. So I realize that the choice was made.
Right, we can, yeah.
But I have high concerns, and we've been talking about this since before that person came up and talked to me about his daughter running into the fence, and that just kind of highlighted it.
Okay. Thank you. So we have some direction. Chief, do you got any to add? Really not your area you want to jump in on? Smartly.
Sidewalk or fence starts on fire, we'll be there.
Come on now. This is a team effort. So let's do that and then bring it back. The sooner we can get the information, the better, and then we can move forward from there.
Yeah, an email would be good, and then we kind of, if we need to say something to Public Works about, here's another issue you're going to have to deal with.
Yep.
The other thing is, you're talking about the 18 inches, the property owner is responsible for half that cost, so that's a big deal. You know, I know the property owner has no control, he's got to maintain it, but yet he's responsible for half the cost. So I think that's why a lot of them put plantings and other things on the boulevard, so they don't have as much area to move, because I have a big sidewalk in front of my house, yet I'm responsible for making sure it stays clean and that the yard is mowed and everything else. And if I don't, the city comes after me and charges me for it. So I can see where the homeowner's gonna go, wait a minute, let's not get too carried away with this, because I don't wanna be having to pick up the cost of half what's gonna happen with it.
And in particular with the cement wall, retaining walls.
Yeah.
It's gonna get a little spendy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Moving on to 5, discussion possible action to install crosswalks on Carmichael Road near Golf Course to Cooley Road and on the Cooley Road west to where the sidewalk ends. Marty.
I had received a phone call, and then I had received an email from Dan Schwab. Him and his wife do a lot of walking along the paths that start at the golf course area and they go all the way down as far as they do go on Cooley Road. Their main concern is that when those paths intersect with roadways or driveways, that there's no sidewalk crossing markings on the ground. And they feel it's a danger to pedestrians because there's no marked crosswalk and that people might not pay attention to them as much unless they take a look at that. So I told them that I would bring this up for consideration of public safety. I'm not sure how much authority the city has in putting those crosswalk markings there. I'm not sure if that belongs to the city or if those paths are
Well,
responsibility.
our half
of-
is, it goes down the middle, I believe. The
Right.
Public Works can verify, but we can do our half, and then maybe we can coordinate with the township or the county to do the other.
Well, I'm thinking more of like the owners of the property. If we ended up painting it, we're gonna have to charge them half the cost for putting crosswalk markings in. For Culver's, Walgreens,
We haven't
Target.
charged before.
Well, I'm just saying, these aren't normal streets, these are entranceways to businesses that we're talking about, so I wasn't quite sure of the cost on that.
But the businesses didn't bring it up, and I don't,
Right.
I think they would want to be kind of germane to this conversation before we
Right.
start suggesting that we start
Right.
charging those folks.
Correct.
Just because these folks that, correct me if I'm wrong, don't even live in the city. They live in the township section?
I believe so, but they use that walking path, as a lot of people do, they were just concerned about pedestrian safety, so that's what they brought
So
it forward.
the city residents have to pay for that. So
Right,
we've got to be careful
right.
on that type of direction. Any thoughts?
Well, from my point of view is that if it's a safety issue, then it needs to be addressed, and, what's the cost of painting, do you know?
We'd have to get a bid from, or not a bid, but a estimate from Public Works.
Okay.
Has this been to Public Works?
No, it has not. You want to forward, would you
That's what I would think we should suggest.
forwarding this to Public Works?
Jim?
They're not asking for any signage here, or would we?
No.
We don't
not-
need signage there. There's a lot of nonstops at those crosswalks. You see the opportunity to get out and you go, but, so it is kind of dangerous. I don't see many people walking down there. It's, not that they don't, but
Right.
and that may be part of the reason, is it's not a safe, venue for walking.
Well, it's all driveways, except for the entrance, at the south end where, like, they've got the Mexican restaurant there and so that one's really a roadway.
Culver's, the Walgreens,
Yeah, those are all just,
the two bigger,
Well, there's three. There's the golf course,
The first one
Culver's,
on-
Walgreens.
but that's not, you can't go in there right now.
No. I'm talking the one that's Culver's and the golf course goes like this.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
that-
Yeah.
There's that one entrance. The next one down is the one that leads to the back of Target.
Right.
And then you turn the corner and then you have the entrance to Target. You have the entrance that goes between Target
Yeah.
and Family Fresh.
then
The other entrance to Family Fresh. See, they wanted all the markings. They wanted all those crossings marked, is what their recommendation was.
Yeah, I guess we need to ask Public Works, have we done this elsewhere? Is there a policy
No.
on this? Because they aren't streets.
They're not city streets, so that's the question.
Right.
And if it is something that would get marked, or because it's a path and does the easement belong to the city and to the property owner, are we gonna be charging the property owner for the cost of
Yeah, Marion, briefly.
Marion Weber, 604 Grandview Drive. I think it's a brilliant idea. What it does is it starts people to think. They might not even stop there every time, but it starts people to think about the possibility of someone might be wanting to cross that way. And you certainly shouldn't have infrastructure that prevents people from being able to cross. I think it's brilliant.
Okay, thank you. Let's forward it to Public Works and get an estimate from it. And then if it has to come back here, fine, but more than likely, we'll have to do some striping. There's gonna be a budget impact, and we need to discuss it with the other businesses up there. You want a formal motion for that, probably?
I suppose.
So I'll move the forward at the Public Works for an estimate and a legal opinion. How about that?
Okay.
I'll second it.
that.
Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Did I skip one on that city code? Nope. Never mind, that's next. Number 7, discussion possible action to remove section C of City Code 175-3.
And I know it says remove, but this came from the Public Works Committee, and I would imagine that Jim would be able to discuss this a little better than I can, but they wanted the Public Safety Committee to take a look at section 175-3 as it pertains to composting.
Yeah. As, I was kind of surprised when I read the motion that I seconded and voted on. The discussion totally, or in my mind, was around, we need to replace this section of the ordinance with one that is germane to composting. And to remove this at this point in time would be, I think, inappropriate. I mean, we need to, the whole, almost all the conversations on what should the ordinance look like, not taking this thing out at this point in time, I think is, I don't know that that's appropriate. The only thing it does is makes it legal for the people who are composting, and there were 3, the chair of the Public Works Committee plus 3 people in the audience.
What would be the issue? Why wouldn't we want people composting?
We do, we absolutely do, but the ordinance doesn't allow it. But if we remove this, then there's lots of other things that can go.
Well, my interpretation, I was interpreting it different, that we were
Okay.
doing what they were setting out to do to address these 2 ladies' issues.
Right, the whole discussion, but what they're asking for here is removing this piece, and we're not replacing it with anything else. So
And-
that's it, I don't know that that's a good idea, because then that opens the door for true violations of this.
And there is no section of the code that allows for composting. So this stems from a complaint that Jason had received about the neighbors doing that, and that the raccoons were getting into the compost bin and they were taking trash throughout the neighborhood. So I think this is why it got brought forward. When Catherine saw this was on the agenda and had read through it, she wanted me to pass on to the committee that her recommendation is not to totally delete that section of it, but to take a look at redoing the ordinance in such a way to allow composting. But obviously, you don't want decaying animals being put into a compost bin or any of that other stuff. So I think you want to make it in such a way that people will be allowed to do it, but they have to do it in such a manner that is safe and
Yeah, I think-
environmentally friendly.
I think most people understand what composting animals means,
Yeah.
scraps of bones,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. So she's suggesting that we send it back to her?
Well, no, I think what she's saying is that she's saying that this committee should take a look at, if that's what they're gonna do is allow composting, they should do some research on it to get the right language and not just, because she saw the same thing, that remove section 175-3, and she goes, well, I don't think you wanna do that.
Okay.
I think if we looked at the minutes from the Public Works Committee, that there was agreement that Alderman McCormick and the 2 ladies who were present would do some work on that. There are ordinances out there that allow this. Although it was interesting, like the next day I got the city or the county recycling thing, and they had 1 page about composting, and they were selling compost bins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you know, we need to
Okay.
catch up here. It was,
So we need to hold off on what, so we should suggest something, do some research.
Well, my suggestion would be is that you make a recommendation to the council to have them take a look at whether or not they want to have Catherine put together language to allow composting within the city of Hudson.
Well, I don't think we need to go back to council. What we need to do is craft, because it's already come out
Okay,
from Public Works.
Right.
They're already starting to tackle the issue of redoing the ordinance, so we need to, I guess, jump on board and help craft some. I'll have to conversate with John on his thoughts, and
we
then
worked together.
shoot an email, to Catherine to find some other composting ordinances within the area.
and you want me to bring it back for next month's meeting, huh?
Yes.
All right, I will do that.
Does that sound like fair plan?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think about how this would be done. Would we keep the ordinance but give an exemption for composting, or start with put in a whole different ordinance?
That's why it's good for us to get examples of other ordinances in other communities, and then we can cut and paste and do
Okay.
what we need to do.
Mm-hmm, yep. So do you need a motion?
Want a formal motion for that?
Yeah, that would probably make it simpler.
Okay, so what's the motion to, so who's gonna be doing the research? You will, okay.
I would imagine.
Are you volunteering?
No, I'm not.
Probably learn more
I
about
just don't wanna make a motion
composting.
and not know what I'm proposing here.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Marty will do research and work with legal and public works chair on the kind of direction that they're looking to do on this composting ordinance.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, none, passes. Thank you. We will get on that for the next meeting, Marty. Thank you, sir. Number 8, discussion possible action to improve pedestrian crossing on Hanley Road and Carmichael Road.
As you can see, that we received a letter from Mr. Robson, who owns the building where Eagle Valley Bank is at. Obviously, there's a lot of businesses there, UW, River Falls, leases space in that area. And because of the small amount of parking, they've got an agreement with the Wisconsin Credit Union across the street south of them on Hanley Road for overflow parking. Well, there is no marked crosswalk in that area. There are no crosswalk signage. There is no button to push. As you can see from the videos I took, that very first photo, if you look at it, that would be the property that Mr. Robson owns on the north east corner. You can see there's a cutout there for where a crosswalk would be, but there is nothing there. And then the next picture is just a little bit back farther. I'm standing where the crosswalk would be for the people coming out of the parking lot. They would have to go across at an angle. And again, there's no markings whatsoever. There's no signage.
Is there a curb cut out?
There's a curb cutout right there.
But on the other side, or is it behind that truck? The green
I
truck?
mean, where that van is?
Yeah.
Yeah, where that van is, if you go back to the first photo, that's the cut, you can see the cutout.
okay.
It's right there. It's in place. And as you can see, when you go across Hanley from that southeast corner, there is a crosswalk. There is, the crosswalk lights are lit up, so people can cross to go west. They just can't go north or south across Hanley Road, parallel with Carmichael. So what he was asking is the city consider, putting in a crosswalk or redesigning that intersection. I did have a brief conversation with Tom Zulli about that. I believe they were gonna try to put that, if that would be the recommendation for public safety, to put that on that engineering study, because we recommended the Public Works that they do an engineering study in regards to that same intersection and putting in a left turn light for Hanley Road eastbound to go northbound onto Carmichael.
Public
because of the
Works
accident.
recommended that?
No, we recommended to Public Works to do an engineering study on that intersection about changing the lighting. We felt that maybe we do this at the same time, it'll save money.
In the meantime, though, it looks like it was supposed to be painted crosswalk there anyways.
I'm not sure. That white lineage going across, I think, is just to mark underground cabling or power supplies.
But we've got ramps there, so one would assume,
Well, the ramp is there, but the ramp is there for going out to Hanley Road, going across Carmichael, I'm sorry. It's just, you would assume that it would be that way, but there are no, if you look at the first two photos, there are no walk lights, there's no signage there whatsoever indicating that that's a crosswalk right there.
it was
So that
never
would be
meant to have a classroom there either, but you never.
Well, exactly. I don't think they anticipated having that in there or not.
Mr. Robinson suggests any sharing of cost.
No, but he did say if you had any questions, we could give him a call.
I'm disappointed he's not here. Normally they come to those kind of things because that question will come up.
Right. Exactly.
Do they intend to put a sidewalk in on the, you see there's
I would have,
nothing there.
I'm
It's kinda-
thinking so, because you can see where they've got the markings there. I don't think they want to have a path through the grass, so I'm anticipating that's probably why they had it marked. And these are the photos that I took when I was out there that day, taking a look at it before I submitted the photos.
I'd suggest that we do what you said about, try to include it in the engineering study, but also send it back to Public Works with our approval or our support of putting crosswalk signage up and crosswalk markings. I don't know if that's something you folks,
I would
Yes.
make that motion, or second it, whichever.
you can make the motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion up there? Does that kind of solve what we're trying to,
Yes.
at least?
Yeah, that's a
for the
bad
interim?
intersection. It needs to, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that.
And it's not gonna get any better as
No.
things get built up at there, which is a good thing, but we've got to address it on a safety issue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, we'll recommend to Public Works. Pan that out then. All right, number 9, EMS, Fire Department, Police Department updates. Chief St. Martin, Fire Department.
Been real busy with a lot of building, as you're just kind of segueing what you just said. A couple hotels, strip malls, I think 2 warehouses, so doing plan review, working with planning and building and a lot of stuff with that. We had our budget, I see Chief Johnson's going to present it. We preliminary met with the advisory board and they did a preliminary approval of it. We are within a 2% allocation that the mayor had suggested. And we're getting close on the truck. Next week, we're hoping to finalize a vendor on ordering a new rescue pumper. It's taking a little bit of time, but being it's custom made, we're kind of within constraints of our budget too. It came in a little bit over, so we're trying to work with them. The other thing is I just moved my office up to the Well 8 building yesterday and today, so that's where I'll be out of for time being, so.
Why, just more room?
So they hired, when they hired the new building inspector, he took the engineer's office. The engineer took my old office, like in April or May. I moved to Tim Crusoe's old office with knowing that if they hired someone, I'd probably be moving again. And there's really not a lot of other good spots. A conference room was one option, but they still kind of need a conference room. So the water department was nice enough to have a extra kind of a warehouse room up there, and I'm hoping it's some light at the end of the tunnel, and we have some space issues, and I think everyone realizes, and I think the council and the mayor is working diligently on trying to solve those problems, and I'm very confident and optimistic that that's going to happen, so I don't plan on being up there too long.
We have to check in on you so you're not napping or playing
If you can find me, you
PlayStation
could.
4 up there or something.
Karen keeps me in line, so so it's been busy with that, busy with inspections. The temporary fire inspector Mike Peruk has been doing a good job, and John Wallers has been doing it intermittently too, and he can help out. So he's caught on. He's doing a real good job, getting some positive feedback from the building owners and stuff. So that's been working well.
Nice.
Other than that, not too much.
Any questions for Chief?
I guess the key question is, will we meet our requirements for inspections by the end of this
At
year?
this time, it appears that we will be, yes.
That's a good thing. Good question. Marty?
Well, this month we've been extremely busy. First off, we ended up going up and assisting the Richmond Police Department with that double homicide. Obviously, with the amount of evidence that needed to be collected, security, investigators needed, their investigators having to fly to Iowa, Texas, Chicago. They had to be all over the place. So the chief asked for assistance, and we've sent officers up there to assist. So we were busy on that for a week. And then Labor Day weekend hit, and then we got busy. We had a major burglary to some storage units. We had an armed robbery that same day. We have a suspect in custody for that right now. We have not charged.
Very nice.
We're still collecting on that. All I can say is we do have a suspect in custody.
That was a scary one.
Yes, it is. So our officers have been executing search warrants, document subpoenas, so they're working on that one right now. I'm in the process of trying to find an officer to take that open position. I have a gentleman of interest, but he's currently working full-time for Durand PD, and they offered him a promotion. But his promotion still wouldn't make as much money as he would here, so he's torn.
Is
He's
this
gonna
your
give me-
offer availability list?
Yeah, this is off a current list. We're making a new list right now for January, because we need a new one. I have a current one right now that I'm using. But it's almost extinct. I got like 4 people left on it. And I know if this person doesn't take it, the next one after him already works for the St. Croix County Sheriff's Office. Just got hired over there, so I don't think he's gonna take it. So the list is getting shorter and shorter. But he's gonna give me an answer either tomorrow or first thing on Monday, and if he does take the position, we'll begin the background check. And then after physical and test, I'm looking at sometime possibly in November, getting him up and running and getting him on the street. So, we've been working with that.
We're short 1 or 2?
Currently, we're short 1.
Okay.
So, it's been busy. The last 2 years, we have hired 4 officers to fill open spots that we've had in the department. So it's taken us a long time to get back up to speed. And it'll probably take us again until this new person gets on board, gets trained, gets on their own. It might be sometime into February before they're on their own, so we're gonna be short again.
Okay.
And then we started our 9th Citizen Police Academy class last night. We have 13 people that are there. They're excited. We just did the orientation night, kind of showed them around. Everybody got excited. Next Tuesday night, we're out at the dog track for the
Cars.
the squad cars. It's still not too late to sign up. There's already one council member that's already just signed up for the class, so we got a couple others that want to join. More than happy to take you on.
I'd like to, but I'd end up missing half the classes. Because I've got meetings on
It's
Tuesday nights.
fun. Yeah. I'm alumni.
In fact, you are the first alum.
Your
You-
inaugural alumni.
Any
So-
questions? Is that it, Marty?
Yeah, that's it.
Any questions from committee members? If not, go ahead, segue into your budget items, number 10 on the agenda.
Obviously, we were given our instructions on our budget. We were told that we could increase our operational portion of the budget by 5%, which was just over $5,000. If you look at section 2 of the budget changes, I laid out what those changes were. Majority of them were just areas that we were just running a little bit short on, and other line items were kind of picking up the cost, so this should help balance those budget areas out. We did run into some issues with, this year we had to do a fit for duty exam, which cost $2,300, so I've got to find the money there somewhere. So hopefully with the-
One-time fee?
it's a one-time fee, so I don't think that'll be an issue for next year.
Okay.
But obviously, when you're hiring new officers and you have to put them through physical and psychologicals, Police and Fire Commission budget only has so much money in it, so then it comes out of my budget next. So I just wanted to do some increases there. Most of it's supplies, a little bit more increase in training for investigations. I've got 3 pretty new investigators out there right now, so I'm trying to make sure that they get to the training they need to get to, so I increased that. But for the most part, it was just, and I might have to make some changes. I'm looking through the budget now, more of our invoices came back, and I think I might have to increase our IT amount of money that we give for our IT department. More of that's coming from the county. It's costing us over $9,000 a year for licenses and fees and so forth, for the use of the track system, the use of RMS, the licensing and maintenance. It's not cheap. So
$9,000 a year?
$9,000 a year just for the use of our RMS system, our track system, our licenses. And then in the licenses, you're talking about the computers in the squad cars. You know, each one of those is a license. Each one of our desktop computers has to have a license. And then the company that runs the RMS program that we have There's an annual maintenance fee, there's an annual service fee, so that all adds up and it continues to climb each year.
RMS, you're saying?
Record management system is what it's called.
And would it not be cost, a cost for, what if we did it our own? Would we say?
Well, then it would be even more. See, now this is cost sharing through all the municipalities in St. Croix County, including St. Croix County Sheriff's Office itself, run on this system, so there's a cost share. Ours is more expensive, obviously, because we have more computers. We have to have more licenses. So that's why it costs. And then there's, the other cost is that for us to be able to get into our records management system on our MDCs or our mobile data computers in the car, you have to have a program that allows you to bridge from that computer from tracks into RMS. Well, that's another licensing fee. So they got you coming and going with the software stuff, but we're currently, right now, we're gonna be about $400 over on that line item, so I'm gonna have to move some money over. The nice thing is it doesn't increase a lot. We've been under budget for the last couple of years, but this year, obviously, it went up because we added another computer, and it doesn't take much, and up it goes. So I'd probably be making a change there, but otherwise, from what you see in the budget changes, that would be about it. The only capital expenditure I'm looking at next year, obviously, again, is $70,000 for the purchase of 2 new police squad cars.
Where are we at with that as far as the old ones, you're selling them, we're getting the money back from, that whole program Mary
Correct.
started?
We still do that. We sold 2 this last year. Well, actually, we sold 1 to Scott. Scott took my old squad car, and then we used the money to offset the cost of the lease program for the new lease vehicle. And then we sold another squad car where a squad car is being auctioned off by Sweeney's Auction Associates. We haven't got the money back from that. And that goes into an account that we have, which is a special revenue account off to the side, and we can only use that if we need to purchase things for the squad car. So if something comes up extra that would be above, that we didn't budget for, so we need a new MDC because one crashed. Well, I can go into that account and take it out without having to come to the council and go, hey, I need to get contingency funds or whatever, so.
Will you bring a list of the next meeting or whenever we do our budgets of the year and make and miles of of all the cars you got?
Of all the squads, make, models, and miles?
Yeah. You've been pretty lucky. We've been giving you vehicles, every year. And, you got a pretty healthy fleet right now.
The thing is with.
I know, the road hard and put away, I get
Well,
that.
exactly. We average, one squad will average anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 miles a month because of its use. The other thing is that even though we might have 2, 3, 4 officers out, you've got to have spares because sometimes these vehicles will go down, they'll break down, and then you've got to have vehicles that these officers can get into. And we also have we have to have them in case we have to send somebody across the state on transport or for special events, parades, booster days, we got to have enough squad cars.
How many vehicles you got?
16 total,
16.
which includes our patrol and investigations.
So those are the 2 leases? No.
3,
3 leases?
correct,
That's included in the 16?
correct.
And how long do you typically keep a vehicle?
Well, we have some the oldest ones we have now are from '09, but they're up in the 100,000
Yeah.
mile range. And they start to cost you money every year, $1,000 to $2,000, struts, tires, oil.
Tell you, George,
leaks.
we've come a long ways with the
Right,
vehicles.
oh yeah, we've been very, very fortunate.
No, I'm not questioning his
No, I'm
judgment
just-
or anything.
I'm just FYI for you,
Yeah.
because we really you guys had some really clunkers and some unsafe.
Oh, yeah, we
old
did.
Vehicles, so.
Yeah.
There was a
No.
day, back when I first started here, they bought refurbished squad cars that had 100,000 miles on them. Oh, yeah, they didn't last very long, but we tried it. So,
No, we have quite a few family vehicles,
Right.
so I'm very well versed in what it costs to maintain a vehicle.
agree. So, but that is my plan again. The nice thing is that we get newer vehicles in the fleet. they work, they run, our guys can respond to calls, especially when we've got 3 and 4 guys out, we've got to have cars that can get from point A to point B.
I think maybe kind of following with where you're going is, are we going to replace 2 vehicles every year? What's the plan here? Is it 1 vehicle or is it one, what's the?
We've been going at 2. What my hope is that we've got some old Crown Victorias still left in the fleet. They're being used by our school resource officers and some of my sergeants. We keep them around because they are in good shape. They haven't, we've kept low miles because they don't put a lot of miles on it, but sooner or later, you're going to be hard to find parts for them, and then if you try to sell them, you're going to get $1,000 for them. So we try to keep them as long as we can, and then we end up switching them out. They get the older cars, and then the newer ones go in the fleet. So, but again, I think we'll get to a point where we'll be doing 1 car 1 year and 1 car and 2 cars the next year.
That's
kinda
what
flip it back.
like Jim,
Yeah.
every other year get cars, or, kind of time to wean off of every year you get 2. I mean,
Right.
you're looking at a pretty big, hefty personnel issue that you want to
Correct.
tackle. And, as of right now, I support you with that. And, perception's reality. We're spending money, capital, otherwise, budget.
Right.
We need
Totally
to make sure
understand.
we can focus in on what your need is.
And the nice thing with the squad cars, that 70,000 not only purchases it, but it also gets it outfitted. It gets the lights put on, it gets everything else. And if we run into a problem where we need to replace a light bar, or we need to replace a radio, or I need to buy a new computer, there's enough money left in that account that I can go back in there and go, all right, here we go. We got a new, without having to tap into any other part of the budget. And whatever money's left over from that capital from the year goes back into whatever general revenue it is that's being used, so.
I certainly didn't like the way and I don't know what, it was out of your control about how the last 2 new cars sat because we couldn't get the parts.
That was, I had talked to EAT, in fact, I had talked to them here last week. They are still running the same problems with the main distributors of Centina, the push bumpers and the cages and the light bars. They are so far behind. They are actually 3 to 4 weeks behind. If you order, it takes that long.
Discounting anything for us, or is it just, the heck with you, no place else to go?
Well, there's really not too many places that do this. They are one of the bigger ones. They do a fantastic job. They do great work for us, but they also have the state contract for the state of Minnesota State Patrol. So, that's a big investment. The nice thing that we do is that when we order our cars right away, we get them in usually end of February, first part of March. We can get in before the state patrol's rush comes in May and June. Our problem this year we ran into is we got the cars, but there were no parts they didn't have any. And I know what they're trying to do this year is they're trying to get a hold of Satina and say, we need parts now. So they're gonna try to get stock on hand so they don't run into that problem. They're just trying to get caught up, so.
Yeah, let's try to be a little more proactive and,
Yeah.
shop it. I mean, you may be great, but shop it around.
But we have done it with Kiesler's, was a company that did it. One year we had EATI fix one, and then we had Kiesler's fix one. And both cars came back the same, but there was nickel and dime difference between Kiesler's. And then they wouldn't come and fix it. It was all the way over there. EATI, they have an employee that actually lives in the city of Hudson.
Okay.
If we had a small problem, he would just come home early from work, come and fix the car, and then go home. So they have been very responsive to us. The owner lives just across the NAP.
You understand my concern.
Oh, yeah.
When we get
Totally
those cars,
understand.
we need them out, and we need them
Right.
available to you guys.
Right.
That hurt. That was
Right.
really.
It would be nice to have one of our guys trained on it, but that would be kind of costly as well,
Yeah.
so. The other part of my proposal, obviously, is I'm looking to fill my lieutenant's position, a second in command. The reason that I'm going for a lieutenant versus the captain is that I'm going to be filling this from within side. And the reason that is that we fill the lieutenant's position, what we do is the sergeant's position, one of the detective sergeant's positions now goes away and becomes just a regular detective. It'd be a patrol level detective. So you'd have a detective sergeant and 2 detectives working in investigations, and then we would hire we would promote somebody from patrol or move somebody from patrol into investigations, and then we would hire an entry-level patrol officer. And by doing that, restructuring the department in that way, it's only going to cost us, according to Devin's figures, around $103,000, because what you're doing is you're taking the cost for the lieutenant and the sergeant investigator. It kind of has that trickle-down effect. Instead of paying for $136,000 with benefits and so forth for lieutenant, it just has that trickle-down effect. So you're only costing $103,000 for that position during the
Is it
restructuring.
paid for then, through those trickle downs, or no? You have to come up with another 100?
Well, you got to come up, because it's filling that position, we'd have to be a brand-new, it wouldn't be a brand-new position, but it would be one that we'd be filling.
But there would be some cost savings within the restructuring you're doing.
The cost savings is that it comes in as $103,000. It looks like an entry-level position, but we're actually creating a command level position. Lieutenant would be the second in command. He'd be salaried, or she would be salaried, depending on who got the position. The nice thing about that is that if I'm gone out of town, like a prime example is New Richmond when they had the double homicides. The chief was in Canada. Their second in command was the lieutenant. He took charge of the scene. He did the public service, did the announcements, the media relations stuff. He made sure that there was investigators there until the chief got back into town. Currently, the way we have it structured, the most senior sergeant, according to ordinance, would be the one that would be in charge in my absence. Well, that would be Glenn Hartman. Well, Glenn works a night shift, so then Glenn's got to come in, and then he's a sergeant who's, and if you look at I put the,
Is that an example, 2016 organization?
yeah, that is just to show you,
Because you're making an assumption in your position.
all I did is, you know how hard it is to make these sheets on a PowerPoint presentation? I didn't want to delete anything. I just moved stuff around. But if you look at 2015, as you can see, myself, and then we have the 5 sergeants. Well, they're all frontline supervisors. They're not salaried, they get overtime. They can't suspend, they can't demote, they can't do any of that stuff. If you look at the one for 2016, I just took one of the detective sergeants, moved him up into the lieutenant's position, and then made another detective that would be in here. And then what would happen is that he would be the second in command. He would be over the 4 sergeants. And then
So that is not your choice, you're just using it for example?
I know, I heard about that today when I did it, and I should have just left it blank, but when I was just putting this together, I just wanted to have something to take a look at. So,
Kind of looks funny, but
I know it does, and I got brought out on the carpet by a couple of the guys on it, and I apologize.
Okay,
Not my intention,
I'll
I
leave you
just
alone.
put it right there.
they'd do a better job calling you on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did.
Is
They
my
did.
name in there?
How'd you know?
I should have put Melanie's in there, that probably would have been better. But,
told
but no,
me.
but my intent was just to show you if the position was approved, what the structure of the department would look like. And I'm looking here and I see that I forgot one extra square. I forgot to put another detective underneath Detective Hall. So basically what would happen is we'd have a second in command. We'd have a detective sergeant who would oversee 2 detectives that would work full-time at the police department. And then he'd also be overlooking the 2 PSLOs that we have at the schools.
So where are you gonna get the money?
From you.
Hey,
That's how I
Weber's
do
have
it.
more, they're retired, right?
What was that?
The Weber's have more.
We're on fixed income.
That's a serious question. I mean, yes from us, but
Well,
What are your-
the reason I put it as a informational item is that my budget has to go to finance and then the council first, so I just wanted to give you an idea where I was going. If you had some suggestions before I turn it in, what those suggestions would be, so I could take them under consideration. Obviously, with all 3 of you being voting members on the council and one of you being on finance, it would behoove me to.
I would like to see your email or full budget email to me then, and then we can take a look through it.
Say what again?
Email your full budget to me.
Okay. What I reckon, the only thing that Devin gives us is this issue with all
Yeah.
that's it. I can email it to you. That's
And I
not a
haven't
problem.
seen that yet, so just,
Yeah, this is just, he said that he gets $5,008 is the increase above, and then you just fill in the numbers as you go.
yeah.
So there's no personnel cost on this whatsoever.
All right, I'll get with Neil.
You still want it, though?
I'll get with Neil.
You'll get it from Neil?
Yeah.
I don't, Neil
You guys-
probably doesn't have it, you'll have to
Whoever's
get
got it, I'll get it.
it. Okay.
Did you guys want something to look at as well?
I haven't been through the budget process, so I'm not sure how everything all works yet.
It's a good start. I mean,
Okay, yeah,
it's a tough start.
Because obviously you're gonna be, other departments, Scott will be asking for people, I know Danny, everybody else will be looking for, so,
so, yeah, put me on the email list.
But
I will send it to you.
my thing is we're on the safety committee and safety is our priority. And if this is something that we need to focus in on and make a necessary change to the department structure, I'm in favor of that.
Right. Yeah, I think this is, the change makes sense in terms of structure of the department. And I also like the fact that we're able to actually promote people from within. I think that's
Yeah.
as long as you can do that, that's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
So it just makes the morale of the department, that there's opportunity. So
Correct.
I think this is a good thing.
It's a good start, and
Yeah.
hopefully we
Just do it for,
can make it happen.
Right, exactly. So,
so how do we get the money from that?
Well, we're gonna have to go through his budget, and you run pretty thin as it is. We have done a good job, and past people have done a good job at streamlining you, but are we cutting out services that are necessity for safety in your department, et cetera, you know?
when we lost this position in 2012, it was because that's when the trickle-down effect from 2008 came in. I had to find, in 2000, it was actually 2000, yeah, it was 2013 I lost it. We had to maintain the levels of 2011, but we also had to find the increases for 2012, which was 120,000. So I lost, my lieutenant at the time retired. I then took a detective sergeant and moved him to lieutenant, so I lost one position in investigations. And then in 2012, I had to find another $60,000 in the budget because I had to maintain the same levels with the increases. And then, but my lieutenant had taken a job as a chief in Menominee, so I just didn't fill his position. So I've been without it for coming up on 3 years now. So my hope is to try to get it back. I was going to apply for it last year, but when the school came forward and said, we want a second school resource officer, and they were willing to pay 3/4 of the cost, I couldn't.
And you can hear the mayor now.
Yeah.
What are you gonna cut? You know, that's the questions we have to try to answer.
Right. But our hope is that with the growth of the city and hopefully what's coming in, there might be enough to get this position, so.
It's a good time to be asking with the
Right.
growth we're having and the
Right.
tax revenues coming in, so.
Correct. City's not getting any smaller, so.
Any other further discussion on Marty's budget proposal? You know, take it home, I'm sure you've all read it, but if you want more info, ask him, ask Devin, ask Neil. Even shoot her an email if you need something.
Okay.
Just don't talk to each other, obviously, walking quorum deal. But it's a good to dig into it, and it's very important. So, with that, any other informational items or future items for our next meeting? None?
Scott, along the same lines, you're also requesting a personnel change in terms of having a full-time inspector.
That was
So are we
part,
still
that
there?
is, that's, yes, it's not in our budget's a little different this year than Marty. I prepared a budget with personnel in there, just because we represent the other municipalities. So we did that. We do have a cost of the full-time. We incorporated the part-time within our existing budget within the 2%, not 5%. And we have an additional cost of figured out if we want it, if the council decides to fund that as a full-time position. So kind of did it both ways.
A second full-time inspector?
No,
One full-time and a part-time?
so we just figured out into my budget, the 2% that we were allotted, the number, we figured in a part-time inspector. If the council decides and approves, we have an additional, what the additional cost would be to take that part-time and make them full-time.
Okay, we're getting off, it's not on the agenda, so.
No, I just,
But thank you. So you want that on the next agenda? If you're ready to do that? You want
next-
us to look at your budget, your,
I don't, it was just, I wanted to bring actually, I look at it as a positive because we're really gonna try to go do something. We're still playing catch-up. And there's some more things that need to be done in order to be doing this properly.
Okay.
We're getting done, we're meeting the letter of the law, but there's some things that are not where they should be yet.
so it sounds like you need to have something at our next meeting, or you, because you're on the fire commission?
Yes,
Why don't you give us an update on the next meeting, because this is not on the agenda to
I may
discuss.
not, depends on when it is. I
Okay.
may not be here.
Okay. Or you, just an update. Can't hurt.
just let me know exactly what you want, and we'll prepare it.
Maybe talk with him what he's trying to explain. I get what you're
Yeah.
doing, but for the general public. Any other agenda items? Seeing none, I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you all.